for once, we can report some meaningful pushback against this regime of secrecy and deceit. Kevin McCarthy of California became Speaker of the House last Friday. And in one of his first big policy changes, he is pledging to let Americans see, quote, all that happened at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. And that means finally releasing the roughly 14,000 hours of surveillance footage from that day that, as of tonight, remain hidden. Watch this.
Yeah, I think the public should see what has happened on day. I've watched what Nancy Pelosi did, where she politicized it, where for the first time in the history as a speaker, not allowing the minority to appoint to a committee, to pick and choose. We watched the politicization of this. I think the American public should actually see all what happened instead of a report that's written for a political basis. And I think the answer. We're looking through that. I want to be very thoughtful about it, but yes, I'm engaged to do that.
Evil thrives in secrecy. That used to be obvious to all Americans. We have a right to know, and moreover, transparency is the only solution. And it looks like we're going to get some. And that's thanks to the new Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, and to the small group of Republicans who pushed him in that direction. Matt Gaetz of Florida is one of them who joins us now. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on. How gratifying is it you didn't want Kevin McCarthy to be Speaker, you said it many times. He became Speaker, and now he's doing something that you've been calling for. How gratifying is this?
Bravo, Speaker McCarthy. This was not an agreement that we had at the beginning of last week, but as the week progressed, Speaker McCarthy, to his great credit, understood this was important to a great many of us. And when we get this 14,000 hours out, we're going to be able to see the extent to which the federal agents and assets that were present that day may or may not have increased the level of criminal acuity. We're going to be able to see their coordination with one another. And we're also going to be able to see if there's exculpatory evidence that would show that people never intended to violate a law, even though they might have been technically out of compliance with whatever the standard was at that time based on the vice president's movements that they probably weren't aware of anyway. It is interesting, though, that at every time from the JFK files to 9/11 to now January 6th, it's our own government, it's our own Department of Justice that seems to stand in the way of transparency. The Speaker of the House is now fulfilling the commitment he made to us, and he deserves a great deal of credit for it.
Amen. I feel the same way, and I had similar views about McCarthy to the ones you had, but I'm so thankful for this. Really quickly, we want to be fair. You serve in Congress. Can you think of any legitimate reason, real reason, tied to actual national security concerns to keep this footage secret?
No, I mean, we already know from whistleblower interviews that there were federal agents and assets that were on the grounds that day. And I think what they really want to do is protect those people. They don't want the answers to the questions about coordination, exculpation, criminal acuity. And I think that is what they're trying to preserve. Usually when the Department of Justice is standing in the way of disclosure, it is because they are trying to protect against embarrassment, not protect our safety.
Right. It's self-protection.
Yes.
Not protecting the nation. Matt Gaetz, nicely put. Great to see you tonight. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate you coming on.